Welcome to Fab Talk with Trish M, prophet, pastor, teacher, CEO of Trish M Enterprises, author, wife, mother, and your podcast host. If you're ready for the word, the way, and the truth, then this podcast is for you. Get ready for another level in the things of God, motivation, inspiration, and empowerment that's going to catapult you to new dimensions. Hold on tight. It's time for Fab Talk with your girl, Trish M.
Y'all give it up for Lady Gwen Edwards, Prophetess Tina Pitts. Give it up for these two fabulous ladies who are joining me on today. I love it, I love it, I love it. All right, ladies. Now, they know the deal. They have been on panel talk sessions with me before. I absolutely love them. I consider them both my friends. Aren't they fabulous? They look so yummy. That's my word, okay, y'all? That's my word. I'll be saying yummy. So, lady audience, for those that don't know you, tell them who you are, what you do, anything you want to add. If the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Hello. I am Lady Gwen Edwards. I am the first, I say the first, but that's not accurate. I am the only lady. I am the only, because when you say first, that's an implication that it may be a second or a third. Not. So I am the only lady of Empowerment Word Church. My husband is the senior pastor of Empowerment here in Alabaster. And listen, what can I tell them? I can tell them that I have been in love with this man since high school. We've been dating for 36 years, married 32 of them. 32 married to the same man. And we are best friends. We are best friends. I love being with him. He dates me every day. And so we have 3 adult children, 30, 27, soon to be 28, 23, soon to be 24. So we have adult children, and we are empty nesters, and we are living like we are single. Like we don't have no children. Best. So you can't wait. It's coming, sis. It's coming. It's coming, sis. So that's who I am, and I am a fly girl. I'm a fly girl. I am first loving myself. You are a fly girl because you are first loving yourself. The doctor gave us so much great information that we can take and use, but we're fabulous, but we're fly. And stand in your flyness. That's not a cocky thing. That's a confident kind of thing. God said that I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And because he told me that I am the apple of his eye,
I love it. I am Prophetess Tina Pitts. I am the only lady of Regeneration Church. My husband, our senior pastor, is Pastor Jonathan Pitts. There's an echo a little bit, but J.G. Pitts of Regeneration Church, also right here in Alabaster. What can I also say? We've been high school sweethearts. Yes. We were together in high school. We actually got engaged in high school, and when we went to college, we actually separated. We were a blended family. He was married, I was married to other people. We got divorced, back around again. And so we have 4 children. We have one that's in college at Spelman. We have a 15-year-old, a 10-year-old, almost 10-year-old, and a 5-year-old. In addition to all of that, I'm also senior vice president. I'm a C-suite executive for Coastal Community Bank. I actually work remotely. The bank is in Washington. I'm the head of compliance for the entire bank compliance, payments, and digital. I also am a CEO and chief compliance officer and founder of prestige compliance. I have my own GRC firm, governance, risk, and compliances, and I do all of that in addition to also running the church, our ministries, and I'm taking care of also my best friend. He's still my boyfriend, my boo thing, my everything.
I love it. And just a little bit about me, for those of you who don't know. I have been with my husband for almost 30 years. This is our 24th year of marriage. Yes. 24th year of marriage. We have two phenomenal months in March, and my daughter just turned 12. I have had several miscarriages, about 7, 2 babies, a total of 9. And so God has been good to me, how he has brought me through, me and my husband, through some trials, some tribulations, and some situations. But we are still here, and we have been pastoring here at Mind of Christ International for over 8 years now. This is our new beginning of fabulosity of what God has for us. I am the only lady. They don't want to see the thug come out, so we're gonna keep it that way.
Project Race.
Okay, we from the hood. We cute. But we a whole nother thug.
I will fight. I will fight. Let it be known. I will fight.
I'm telling you, like, God forgive me, okay? I was wrong.
I walk in healing. Lord. Let me just be clear. I walk in a healing anointing, so I will fight you. And when I sit, I'm going to lay hands on you afterwards.
Listen,
Don't come playing with us today, okay?
But let's be real. This is something as pastors' wives that we have to, seriously, we have to discern spirits, y'all, because every spirit that come up in your house that come and want to hang around you and your husband on a dinner date or a hangout date, even if they got a man, come on somebody, our spirits are not sent by God. And so we have to discern, and we have to make sure that we are recognizing the hand of the enemy versus, and so we have to make sure that we are the helpmate to our husbands. And this is part of being the help. If I see something, I'm gonna say something. You know what I'm saying? And as women, that's how, as a prophet of God, if I see something, I'm gonna say something. If I have to talk to my husband about stuff, if I see it, I'm gonna say it. Because a lot of times we as women, we don't, some of us anyway, don't really want to say anything because we want, and I preached about this Sunday, we want to keep peace, right? And God did not call us to be peacekeepers. God called us to be peacemakers. And in making peace, you got to understand that some things have to be disrupted in order to make peace. And so this is one of the things is, this is not just for those that are married, so I don't want y'all to think this is a married-only panel talk. This is for those that are seeking to be married, that are engaged, that desire it and want it. Because let me tell you, preparation meets up with opportunity. This is the off-season of preparation, and so if you're not married and you desire to be married, you're letting God know, I'm preparing now. And whatever I get, I'm going to take it to heart, and I'm going to use it for my future so that I can be that kind of wife. Amen? And we're trying to be fabulous wives for the glory of God. So as we do this, I want to talk about how you enter in your marriage. How do you, because it's so much to be married, to have kids, to have the ministry. How do you prioritize and make sure that you're not missing out on your time with God so that you can see and hear clearly of what God is doing in this season?
I heal you. Okay. I just think that you have to, if we get nothing else today, ladies, get that you have to have time for yourself. I think before we can do anything for anyone, we can't give it empty. We can't give out of ourselves empty. So we have to be filled with ourselves. A lot of ladies or whomever, depending on what your quality time is, you may be an early riser.
Yeah.
You want to get the first dibs on getting that time in. There are some who wants to throughout the day or at the end of the day. You choose that because that's when you're going to have the most quality time that you spend with the Lord. And you have to do it consistently because, especially if you're a wife and your husband is the pastor. right? And so, and for everything else that's going on in the church, you know, you're not only the pastor's wife, co-pastor, but you are the church mother. You know, there are so many other roles. I'm the executive administrator of our church, and so you have so many different things that come up that you have to be, you know, standing in the stead with your husband. I just think that you have to hear yourself, for yourself.
Yes.
Hearing God so that you'll know what to do and when to do it.
That's good. Yeah. Wow.
Absolutely. I agree with all of that. And really, practically for me, I live by a schedule. I have a calendar with everything on it. And at the first part of my day, starting at 4 a.m., that is my time with God. I don't talk to anybody in my house until I talk to God, because I'm not going to be good for you, or you, until I'm good with me. And I'm not good with me until I've got time with the Father. And so my kids know, same thing. If that door is closed, you leave that door closed, because that's my time. I have a whole preparation when I spend time with God. My candles are lit. That room is dark. There might be a little bit of music, but even then, it's not something that's welcoming Him into my day. God, what do you want to say to me? What I'm up here this morning. I worship you. I love you, God. I thank you for this day. God, thank you for waking me up this morning, because somebody else didn't get to do this. I offer you the first fruits of my day. The first thing I say to anybody before I tell anybody, you look good, that's good, I'm telling God He's good to me. And so once I get what I need from Him, now I can go do what I need to do for somebody else, because if I don't connect to the power source, I don't have any power for anything else. It's just like picking up your cell phone. If you didn't charge it, it's going to die at some point, and it usually dies at the moment you plug into my power source every morning. And my time is about 4 o'clock, because also I'm the wife, I'm the mom. We got to get kids ready, kids to school before we play carpool, chauffeur, chef, and all of these other things that we have to do, because I'm also the executive pastor, the only lady, the all of this, the that. I got to find time, and that's the time of day where it's quiet, it's peaceful, nothing's moving in my house but God. So that's my time with Him. So for me and for anybody else, find that time. You have to prioritize that. And for me, if it's not on my schedule, my calendar, to make sure, okay, if something happened, where am I moving this block to? Because it has to happen for me. And then, yes, I'm communing with Him all throughout the day. I'm talking to God all throughout the day. But I have to start it at the first part of my day, when my eyes first open. That's when I really prioritize that time.
That's good. How do you handle disagreements or conflicts in your marriage while maintaining a Christ-centered approach? Like you handling disagreements the Christ way. How do you handle conflict now in your marriage? I know we're all seasoned a little bit here, so hopefully this can help someone in the audience that's listening.
I think I handle, well, not think, but yeah, we've been at this for a time when we had heated conversations, hot topics. I don't know if I ever really call it arguments, but it was just heated conversation on hot topics. And I would shut down. I would shut down. I mute, and everything around me is on mute.
Yeah.
Right? Until I felt better.
A week on mute.
A whole week. 2 weeks on mute. Maybe 3 weeks on mute.
Yeah, Lord. Yeah.
But we mature. And we grow up in the things of God, right? So fast forward now, this has been such an awesome thing now, because I don't have, there's a topic, and it's a hot topic, which are few in between. We talk about it. We deal with it then, and when we deal with it, I am a proponent of resolve. Let's find out a solution. Let's get this handled, and we move on. And I'm just not going to remember from 3 weeks ago that you did or said something, because we had the opportunity at that moment to talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, I allowed him to be honest, tell the truth, and then when he's honest and tell me the truth, I respond in that. Yeah. Even if it hurts, even if it's a challenge, I receive what he's saying, because I know his intent for me. His intent is not to hurt me or harm me, right? So if he's speaking the truth, I have to take that and process that, and then and it's a change if I need to change or correct something. And then we move on. And I've learned now to where if something is being said, I can deal with it and move on. Yeah. And life is good that way. You know, we're quick to forgive. I think they talked about that earlier. It's being quick to forgive. Yeah. Allow grace to be imperfect, then move on. Is that good? Is that good? That's good? Just be quick to forgive and move on. I remember my husband and I had gone to a marriage counseling, well, it was a marriage conference in San Francisco, California. And one of the speakers had given a demonstration, and they had a tile. Here's a visual. There's a tile. And that tile is representation of the floor. And what we did, this was years ago, and I stuck with that, and I remember that, and I always share this, is that when you and your husband are having hot topics, and we've always allowed the person who is talking to have the floor. So we would exercise that. And if I had the towel, we actually had a tile. And as long as I had the towel to talk and tell him how I felt, what I needed him to do or what he didn't do, and all of whatever I needed to say, right? And then when I was done, he had to be an active listener. Not to listen to correct me, but listen to hear me. There's a difference. He had to listen to hear me. And what he did, once I was done telling him what I wanted him to know, I would then hand him the tile. And what his response was, he had to repeat, not verbatim everything, but he had to repeat what I said to let me know that he heard what I said. How can I help to correct that? What can I do to change how you feel about that? If I hurt you, what are the next steps that we could do together to correct that? And that was an exercise that we did all the time when we had those moments where there were hot topics. Now, we don't need the towel, but we still have the exchange, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
That's similar to something we did when we were working on communication, because, with women, we could try to out-talk these men because we got lots to say. We got a lot of feelings we holding on to, okay? And so my husband did this. He's going to have 2 minutes. I'm going to have 2 minutes. He said, when the timer goes off, finish your sentence, it's over. He said, and we're going to move on. And I was like, okay. And so we literally would have a timer going. For 2 minutes, it goes off, and he tried to stop me one time. I said, "Oh, you said I could finish my sentence." He was like, "I did." So I finished my sentence, and we kept talking. But what that helped us do was practice hearing, listening, communicating without interruption. And you feel like, oh, I got to respond immediately to that part. Because in reality, that's the only part that you heard. You missed all the other stuff, but that one part, I got to respond immediately to that part. Because I got to bring correction. I got to bring understanding. I got to bring something to the table. And so that time communication helped stop the interruption of the communication. And he felt more comfortable, and me too, without butting heads on what we were talking about.
That's good. That's really good. One of the things my husband and I do, when I say my husband loves me, like Christ loves the church, I mean, this man loves me. And I say that because that's the precursor, that's the foundation to how we deal with each other, how we handle each other. The Bible talks about the husband being able to safely trust, confidently trust. His heart is safe in her hands, his wife's hands. And it's the same thing for me. So that means that whenever we're talking, whatever this is, my husband calls it heated fellowship, is what he's called. We don't argue. He said there's just times of heated fellowship sometimes. In those times, we remember this man is my best friend. He's truly my best friend. And I am his best friend. So I know that whatever he needs to say to me, it's never meant to hurt. It's not meant to inflict harm. There is nothing coming out of him that is meant to inflict any greater pain than what may already be there. So I can trust what he's saying to me, and I can trust what he needs to share with me. And then because, again, this man is my friend, I go into this understanding, I'm not coming to this moment to be right. That's the key sometimes when you have conflict. I don't need to come out of this. So whatever that is, we can agree from the onset of this. Neither one of us are trying to argue this point so that one person is right and that means the other person has to be wrong. There could be two rights in this. There are two different perspectives. There may be a wrong in this, but the point is not to point out what the wrong is. The point is to agree on a path forward. We are very forward-thinking people. So if this is our impasse, what do we need to do to move forward? And not just move forward, let's move forward together. Because at the end of this, if it means that I get to maintain my friendship with that on the end of this, we are better, and that our relationship is closer, and that we are whole on the other side of this. Because at the end of the day, I'm ready to get back in my pajamas, ready to get up in this bed, and we're going to watch SVU or whatever else, Snapped or whatever y'all watching on TV. Because again, that's my friend. That's my life partner. We've agreed to do this together. And I know sitting in my corner, him sitting in his corner, and this mute that's happening, that doesn't work for us. That doesn't work for us at all.
I think the older you get in life and the older your marriage gets, it gets more seasoned and it gets more to the point where you can understand each other better and understand purpose and life better. When we were younger, listen, I was a peacekeeper. I ain't talking to you. Whatever happens, happens. If you want to leave, boo, I'm going to be okay. That is much of an independent spirit. And we make the man feel like they're not necessary. You make them feel like they're an accessory and not a part of who you are, because the Bible told us that we are one. That man is not an accessory to you. That man is one with you. Yeah. And we treat him like an accessory a lot of times, as if I could just take you off whenever I feel like it, because you're getting on my nerves and I don't like what you're saying, and da-da-da-da-da. One of the things that my husband told me, he said, men want to feel like they have a feel safe, they shut down. Yeah. And men, and there's a scripture in the Bible says a man would rather sit on the rooftop of a house than to sit in a house with a woman that's nagging. He would rather sit on the rooftop of his house than be in the house with you. And we wonder why men leave and go out the door, because they don't want to hear what we're saying. Because he said to me, and I had to come and understand, he said men shut down. And it's like we don't, when we treat them like that, or when we act like they're not necessary, or like we're better than them, or anything like that, or when they can't get words out, they don't feel necessary. As women I know I made it at a young age, telling my husband, I'm good. I mean, if you want to leave. It was like, okay. Because you never think we've been together for 30 years. I can't give you a perfect picture of what we look like. I can give you what I've learned, how we've grown, how we've evolved, because I was once that person. And so we have to be self-aware of our own attitudes. We have to be self-aware of the bridge that we're building. Are we allowing them to cross over? Or are we knocking the bridge down in the middle and daring them to jump across? I don't think women realize the power that we have in our tongue. We have the power to build a man up, and we have the power to tear the man down. I tell the ladies here at MOCI, I say, speak to who you want to see. If you want to see the king come out, speak to the king. But if you want to see the fool come out, speak to the fool, and you're going to get a fool. Wow. Choose which one you want to talk to. What advice do you have for keeping the romance alive in your marriage? Do you have any suggestions for keeping that sexual intimacy a priority? How can we be better in that area? What can we tell them in regards to that?
Men are visual.
Yes, they are. Mm-hmm. Yes, they are.
Men are visual. Period. Men are visual.
Give y'all the Message Bible version of that.
Yes, men are visual. Yes, I think. Yeah, listen. They are. Well, for my husband is, and I've discovered that long time ago. He is visual. how do we keep it sexy? Showing up.
Yeah.
Being intentional. You know, I think that participate. We're grown, right? Participate. You know, stop telling him you have a headache and you're tired. If you are and you have a headache and you're tired, just tell him, honey, if I could get a couple of hours just to lie down, let this headache go away. Give me 3 hours. Or first, I'll set an alarm at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm telling somebody that's what I need to do. Set the alarm at 5 o'clock in the morning and I'll wake you up. Because what that does is it's not ignoring, just to give me a little time to get myself together.
Yes.
And then I'll respond to your need. Instead of saying, I hate it, I'm going to sleep and deal with that. And then that becomes, I ain't dealing with it tomorrow either. Because it becomes easier to have a headache every day. Because you think about that headache when you get home. Because you know you got to cook, you got to clean, you got to wash clothes. You've had hard days at work. The kids coming knocking on the door, mama, 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 mama. And then you're just exhausted, right? But what will help in that area? If you find time for yourself.
Yes, that's good.
What will help in that area, if you are built up in yourself and you've not been the woman with so many different hats and you're depleted because you're doing so much for everyone else, and when it's time for you, your head is just throbbing. You have no intentions and don't want to have any intentions. But once you feel that you've been filled because you've taken care of yourself, then you can provide that intimacy.
Yes.
Not just for him, but for you. Because intimacy is into me, see?
Come on, sis.
Get into me, see? That's what intimacy is. Intimacy is getting to know who you are and fulfilling that.
We do, ladies, we have to be intentional on being sexual. Intentional on being sexual. We may not feel sexual. We may not feel it, but that's where we go back to what Dr. Creed and Lady Gwen was just talking about. We have to take time to make ourselves feel good. And when we're not taking time to make ourselves feel good, when we come around, we're not going to feel like. We have to make sure that we're getting the rest, that we're praying, that we're really being focused on taking care of our home. And sometimes we think taking care of the home is all the other stuff. So when you get to that stuff, you're tired. But God is like, no, your body is not your own. It is for your husband to do as he desires. Just like his is not his on. You can do what you desire to his body too. So, but that means submit first. You have to submit and surrender even when you don't feel like it. Even when, my husband has talked to men, and that's one of the biggest complaints of impact. I call them fabulous women, right? So these men of impact, their complaint is their wives never want to do anything. Like they don't want to, give it up. They may have sex once a month, twice a month, once a week. And it's like they're frustrated. They are sexually frustrated. Y'all are on that tight schedule because you don't feel like it. And the men hate it. But guess what? They're not saying anything because you're good with it. And they don't feel like you're taking initiatives to be that sensual creation. But I'm telling y'all ladies, you turn on the TV, somebody eating a hamburger. Right. Everywhere, dukes and half-naked women everywhere. You can't go nowhere. They do booty hanging BBLs. These BBLs, excuse me. Listen, it's everywhere. So these men get visuals everywhere. And when they come home, they get little to no visual. You said it says that men, they're visual. And so they may not complain to you, but they're complaining. I hear about it. And so you think y'all are good, and you're really not. And I'm not giving no man an excuse for infidelity, because that ain't an excuse. But what I'm saying is that we have so much power as women that even when we got to realize that submission is casting off your pride and being humble in the moment that somebody else needs you to be. And so you surrender to that. We surrender so much to all the other stuff. When it comes to that, it's not even a priority anymore. And so now what God is letting us know is our priorities are not in order. Because let me tell you, who's supposed to come first? And this ain't no trick question. The kids, the job, or your husband? Stuff for kids. We running doing all this stuff for work. We running doing all this stuff for all these people. But what are we doing for him?
That's a sign of disrespect too.
It is.
It is very disrespectful. Pastor Sean is teaching around Love Month, love and respect. Women need love. No, women desire love. Men need respect. Women desire love. If they love us, you said your husband loves you. If he does his part to love you, it's an automatic for you to respect. People find that if I don't submit in that area, that is me saying that I'm disrespecting him. Because there's a desire that he needs and want, and I am the one to fulfill that, and I'm not doing that.
My God,
Women desire love, and it's reciprocated. If he is giving you love, it's an automatic in the respect field, right? They love affirmations. My husband and I read a book many years ago. It's called The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. Kudos to Gary Chapman because it revolutionized my life, right? We were in a spot, and I read that book in 2 days because I was in need of trying to figure out how to revolutionize my life to where I knew what his love language was. Wow. And when I got through reading the book, and I told him, he was active duty military at the time. He was in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I said, I have this book, and I'm only asking you. You can read it if you want to. You don't if you don't want to. But I said, I've read this book, and I said, all the light bulbs came on. And now I see what I have been doing that has not fulfilled your love tank, because he was on E and I was on E. But when I recognized and learned of what his love language was, I was able to fulfill his love tank, vice versa. So you got to know who he is and what his desires are. They want and need respect, just like you know.
And it's so funny because my love language, I love it when my husband serves me. Like y'all, he out in the parking lot, I think serving me. You know, like, because I'm called to do this, and he doing whatever he got to make sure my calling is fulfilled and goes forth. He does his part, baby. I will turn tables over to do my part for him. I don't care how tired I am. You know what I'm saying? Because he's serving me in the area that I love to be served, in the area that because he's a man, they majority of them, they down for the get down, okay? And so because he does that for me, I have absolutely no problem doing that for him. And so it's like we have to make sure that we are recognizing, and I'll say this, if you don't know what your love language is, how can you have him love you the way you really want to be loved? You have to communicate your love language. Because here's a problem I see a lot of women have. They know what they want, but they have never told the man. They just expected the man to know. Well, he's supposed to know. How is he supposed to know? Men do not. They don't read our minds, and they have no desire to read our minds. Right? They ain't trying to walk around and be like, well, I wonder what she's thinking right now. They have no desire for that. They're not built like that. And so, one, you have to know what your love language is. And I have a couple. And I voice my couple with him. But I have to identify first no excuse for us not loving each other the right way. Amen. Did you have anything you want to add?
I would just say to all of that, as a woman, invest in the experience. That is one thing that will always help you in that category. Like, I love spaghetti, but I don't want spaghetti Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Invest in the experience. And what I mean is we said that men are visual. Tell me what a wig and a pair of heels won't do. If you've got a husband like mine, maybe on Monday it's blonde. Maybe Wednesday is blue. Maybe Friday we honey. What you get, you'll get what you get. But the point is that the more you invest in it, I promise, the more you'll get back from it. You will always have a return on your investment. I'm a financial person, but that works in all realms. What you invest, you will always get more back. And so I promise you, said it can be simple. Men are not complicated. And not complicated. A new wig, some new heels, get some oils. There's some things. I'm a firm believer in that top drawer. Some of you need to restock your top drawer and stop working so hard. Just be creative. Be creative. Don't again, we all like spaghetti, but we don't want that every single night. And you don't want that either. You don't look like you can get a few more days of sleep. You don't want that. You're not looking forward to that either. Sex is not just for them. Sex should be for you too. It's pleasurable. It's enjoyable. You need more of it in your life. Can I say that? Amen? So like I said, invest in the experience. Think about not just his needs out of it. What do you want out of it? Are some things that you want him to do? And I promise he'd be willing if you put a little bit of effort. My husband tells the men at our church, and as we counsel couples, one of the things he says, first and foremost, no man wants a lazy experience.
That's good.
So if all you do is show up and lay there, that's going to be the quality of what you get out of that experience as they show up and lay there. But if you want him just as active, just as mandingo, then you show him half of that. I promise he'll respond.
And that's good. And you got to understand, that's good. Yeah, what goes down, they have stuff for that. And it's all natural stuff out there. It's tons of stuff that is out there to help you with libido, to help you with women issues that you have down there, from irritation to dryness to whatever you want to put out there. There's stuff, natural stuff, medical stuff. Dr. Cree, they could prescribe, get somebody a script. Outside. But the bottom line is, make no excuse. Don't make an excuse, make it happen. You know what I'm saying? And so just food for thought. So while we're talking about that, what are some creative ways outside? We're talking about sex, but what are some other creative ways that you guys use to show love to your husband outside of the visual, sexual, romantic side of far as the intimacy?
Before anybody leaves here and said, Prophetess Kiva said, I can go visit my top drawer. Your top drawer is not to substitute for your husband, it's to supplement. Let's be clear about that. He shouldn't walk in on you having fun with your top drawer and he wasn't invited to the party. Is that clear? We're all good. So just want to make sure all things in decency and in order. You know, the bed of marriage is undefiled. So whatever is permissible between the two of you within that context of your marriage, that should never be a substitute. It is only an enhancement. It's a supplement. Invite him to the party, okay? So in terms of, you know, some other things outside of sex, again, learning those love languages. My husband's, of course, number one is physical touch. But outside of that, he loves when I affirm him. There is nothing any woman can say to my husband that he hasn't already heard today. And I send my husband out on full every day because there's booty on every corner. Let's just be clear. There is something shaking, jiggling, rolling by on every corner. And just because you don't know that, I want to make sure that his love tank is full. So if somebody compliments him, you look good today. My wife said that to me first thing this morning. You know, you like you lost some weight. My wife just said that to me. So my husband loves to be affirmed. He loves when he's in his element, that I recognize that he's in his element. On Sundays, especially, you preach that thing. Oh, I did. Tell me, which part did you like? You know, just affirming him in his gift, affirming him in what he does. So taking the time to learn their love languages as well as what you do best. How do you give out love? Taking just those small things. It's the small things. My husband doesn't require a lot at all. His tank full. So now I don't have to build him up from the floor. If you keep him up, you don't have to invest as much. Don't let that take you down so low where now it takes, and you need laying of hands, a miracle, some tongues and everything else to get this man off the ground. Keep him on full, and then it doesn't take as much. Again, it's that thing, that ROI I reap every day because I'm investing in him every single day. You look good today. You smell good today. And then the things that you like to see him in, the smells that you like to smell, go get those things. Sometimes they don't know. My husband told somebody, my wife dressed me for like 5 years straight. Because they were a big person thinking about, name brands or anything like that. But there were some things that I like to see on him. And so after a while, he began to kind of take those things on. And he looks for that. But that came from me investing in him, the person, not just something I'm trying to make him out to be. No, not at all. I take pleasure in adorning my husband, my king. You think about how kings dress and royalty, the robes, the garb, and all. Take pleasure in dressing this man, sending him out in the world looking his absolute best. And he knows that every compliment he gets is because his wife put her hands on him. My fingerprints are all over my husband, spiritually and naturally. They're all over him.
That's good. How has, bless our husband, or try to be intentional about blessing? There are women out there that have dealt with infidelity or hurt, trauma from men, from their spouses, but they're still there. They've moved on, choosing to forgive or trying to press through forgiveness. What do we do? What to say to encourage them to deal with the hurt? How does forgiveness and sincerity really play a part if we're going to have a successful marriage and getting past things? And it may not be infidelity. It could be something where they feel like they're being hurt in the marriage and not something there that has caused some brokenness. What do we say to those women that are struggling in their relationships?
Communication. I think communication is key into that, because if there's been infidelity or anything in the marriage that has caused some type of trauma, hurt, abandonment, I think communication. I think for the spouse, we'll just say if it was the husband, just for teaching purposes only, that if it was the husband who stepped out and had an affair, for him to let the wife know that it was not you that caused me to go do that. It was me. And I made arrangements, and I was the one who went out and did that. You did not make me do that. Because they can choose to not do it. But when they choose to do it, the choice is theirs. It's not the wife's. So we have to communicate. And if you're going to stay with him and move forward, he has to, okay, I'm going back years. And I'm going to be honest with you. My husband had an affair. And it was very early in our marriage. We were probably 5 years in. And when I found out, he told, she called me. And so my husband was working, and when I got off the phone with her, I called him. And I said, you need to come home. He was working. I said, you need to come. Well, is everything okay? No. You need to come home. So with that, did I ever think about leaving? No, I don't think that. I never thought that I would leave. But what he had to tell me was, Gwen, it was not you. Because you were doing what you were supposed to do. It was the choices that I made.
Wow.
And because it was the choices that I made, then I have to fix that. So no matter how many times you gonna ask questions, I am gonna be there to answer. No matter how many times something comes up and it's a trick, there to answer.
Wow.
He said, because I won't put an end of how long it's supposed to take you to recover.
Come on. That's good.
However long it takes, I'm in for the long haul.
Yeah.
Because I want you to be whole.
That's good.
Because it was not you that took me out there. So no matter how long, and what I had to do in that is to get the truth, forgive him, and not make him pay. Because at that moment, I said, I forgive you. But you have work to do, because now I got to get my trust back up. Right? Now, I love you. That's real talk. I love you. I'm not leaving, but you got to build the trust back up. So if he was going somewhere, when he was leaving, where he was, how long he stayed, and when he checked, look, it's a checkpoint. It's a checkpoint. I'm here, and when he get ready to leave, baby, I'm leaving, I'm coming home. It's a checkpoint, and he does it to the day. He still does it to the day. Because it does not end. He wants me to know that accountability, and he's going to take responsibility for it. So he's still, and it's not because I'm thinking he's out there doing anything, but that's become a habit. Right? So when he leaves and he tells me he's going somewhere, checkpoint. It's habit now. And it's not because I'm expecting anything to be wrong. That's he's wanting to be accountable to me.
Wow, this is so good. We have women that have gone through this, or maybe going through this, I don't know. And we have men that are, Pastor Sean, bless his heart. I love Pastor Sean. We have men who aren't, and he wasn't Pastor Sean back then. So let's get that straight. He wasn't Pastor Sean back then. But even, and he said, I did it, I messed it up, and I choose to be accountable moving forward. You have women out there who have men that make excuses instead of making it make sense. And it's like, and I'm still hurting a year or two later, and you think I should be over it while we still talking about this. Because apparently there has not been true accountability somewhere to make her feel like she can trust that you're delivered or changed. So it's like, wow, this is amazing. What do we say to those women who don't have a Pastor Sean? That's making them weren't doing well, I did it cause, or how do we build them up? How do we get them to hold on a little longer? Or what is it? I don't know. What do we do?
My God.
Prayer, because in that you can ask Holy Spirit to give you what you need. I'm not a proponent of divorce. I said that word, and I usually don't say it. I used to say the D word, but I'm not a component of that to a certain extent. Because ain't nobody gonna be beating on me.
Right. Come on.
And I'm choosing to stay.
Right.
Habitual cheater.
You ain't gonna be a habitual cheater and a habitual beater either. You ain't gonna cheat and beat, and I'm supposed to stay. I'm just saying that you know, because that's you got to run and run fast, run fast. You got to run and run fast if that's your situation, and get help. But I think communication, you all. I think you gotta have the real talks. I said that earlier. You gotta have the truth conversation. You gotta have real talk. I mean what you say. You gotta have real conversation. And then when you have the real dialogue and conversation, we're not talking about a shouting match, because the reality is shouting is not going to change that he went out. That's not going to change that he went out and did that. But you got to have the tough conversations, and you got to want to have a resolve. You got to want to correct it. And then because if you're not going to stay, it's probably not even worth you going through all of that. You know, you may need to find an exit plan. But if you're willing to stay and accept that, then you got to pray and ask God what your next step is. How you need to handle and process through that. That's what I did. It may be somewhat a little different for you. But I'm saying, and this was before pastoring and all of that stuff. But God was with me. God was with me. Because I didn't have to fight. And I didn't have to Maybe.
About 20 years ago, you might have been something.
I'm free, y'all. I'm free. But I'm just saying, we didn't have to go throw chairs or anything. You know what I'm saying? We just had adult conversation. And yeah, there were some tears and all of that. But you got to have the tough conversations.
Yeah.
Because at that moment when you find out, you ain't trying to quote scripture. I'm just being honest. You're not trying to quote scripture and say all of the promises. When life happens, because life will life. Right? Life will life. And I just believe that you got to have the hard conversations. You got to have the hot topics. And you got to be willing to hear what he's saying to you. Because there could be some things that he was looking for that he wasn't getting. Still doesn't make it right that he went out.
Right.
But if you got to hear what he's saying and make the adjustment, if I was in error, then I got to hear that.
Yes.
And then I got to go through that process of changing what was not good. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's good. Y'all getting this? I hope this is healthy. If somebody's maybe not sharing something that they want to do or something they even sensed as a woman. They may not have it confirmed, but they feel it, they sense it. I think the bottom line to this is we have to pray about it and get the wisdom to be doing, because a lot of times, even if they cheated a couple of times, and they found the error of their ways and they said, you know what, God is delivering me and God is changing me, and you believe that, and God says stay, then you stay. Whatever God says do, you have to do it. The key is praying and hearing God for yourself so that you know where your marriage should be going. But if you're not taking that time that we talked about earlier and working on your personal time with God so that you can hear. Amen.
Let me add one thing to that, because I did do the divorce. That was my first marriage. And I want to say that for somebody who may not, that path may be different for you. Maybe you did get a divorce. I had a cheater and a beater in one person. He was an alcoholic. He cheated several times. And I think across the whole state, somebody in every county, because they were texting me, they were calling me, and a couple of them showed up at my door, at my house, left their clothes, left their earrings, showed up at my baby's school. So let me be clear. Sometimes there is not a staying, but again, my prayer life is what kept me and kept him, because I didn't kill him. Let me just be clear. Let me be clear. My prayer life kept both of us. Kept me off Snap, SVU, all of those things. Let me be clear. But I wanted to stay. I wanted to stay in my marriage. I wanted to stay there. I was believing. I grew up in the church. My daddy was a pastor. I'm a PK. We don't divorce. We stay in this thing. But when I tell you, my mental health began to decline. I was losing who I was. Lady Gwen talked about that accountability. She talked about forgiveness. That takes two people. The accountability part does. I had to learn that there is a difference between forgiveness, there is a difference between reconciliation, and there is a difference between restoration. That first one requires nobody but you. Whether he does it again or not, it's not predicated on whether or not you can forgive. The lesson I had to learn was just because I forgive you doesn't mean that we can be reconciled. Reconciliation requires two people to be committed to the same thing, on the same page, going the same pace. It requires accountability. And he refused to be accountable, which is why more women kept showing up, more things kept showing up. The evidence was there. I was praying, but I was praying for God to do something he didn't intend to do. Sometimes we could be praying for something that God's like, I'm not even over there. You're asking me to say, I had to acknowledge the fact that I was in a marriage that God never ordained in the first place. Whoa. So when the Bible says, let no man put asunder, I said, I didn't put that together in the first place. You yoked yourself up to someone that I didn't intend for you. So I say that to say, I had to get to a place where, yes, I forgave him. But I realized reconciliation was not possible because there was no accountability and there was no commitment to change. Jesus. And I certainly can't restore you to the same place in my life. So those are three different things: forgiveness, reconciliation, restoration.
That's right. That's powerful.
But you got to earn reconciliation and restoration.
Yes.
That's good.
That's good.
The Bible does give us, if you are unequally yoked, God's going to honor that covenant. But when he gives you a way out, you better run. Because the way of escape, but you still chose to stay. And yeah, that was good. Y'all,
That was so good.
we gotta close it. We gotta close this out. If we can leave on one thing to encourage the wise or the wise to be, what would we say?
I would say spend time getting to know you. If you don't tell people how to love you, they're not going to love you right. The definition of abuse is to use something for the wrong purpose. If I don't know my purpose, I'm subjecting myself to be abused. And I can't hold you accountable for abusing me if I'm abusing me. And so if you don't hear all of what we're saying today, self-care, invest in yourself, take time for yourself, love yourself, and be unapologetic about that love.
That's good. That's it. We can close the front door on that one.
Thanks for tuning in to Fab Talk with Trish M. Do your girl a favor. Share this broadcast on all your social media platforms. Invite a friend to tune in. Help this podcast reach the nation. We all need Jesus, y'all. You sharing this broadcast helps me to reach the masses. If I'm blessing you, then bless your girl back. Share the broadcast. Give me a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. I got work to do for the King, and I need your help. I appreciate you tuning in to this segment. I'm looking forward to rocking with you on the next episode of Fab Talk with your girl, Trish M.